We're going to talk to 4 women involved. We've talked to some of them before. I spotted them in Sainsbury's, actually, a while back. They were collecting, they were shaking tins, collecting money, and I didn't know anything about the charity, which is called Aim Higher. And we'll find out what they're all about. But as you've been hearing this morning, some head teachers have come together and written to the Education Secretary saying we need £5 million for high needs funding in the next year, as The Guardian reports whole schools at breaking point over special educational needs. We'll talk to Gill, Nicola, Anna. We'll start with Sally, though, on the Burnsy show this morning. Sally, nice to see you. Aim Higher, what are you all about?
We're 4 parents that have each got a child with autism, and we've each had a journey of trying to get the right educational support for our child, and we've come together to empower other parents in the city that are struggling and fighting the system to get the right support for their child. But we're not just about supporting in education, we're also about including in society and supporting advocacy and basically, we're just trying to raise the profile of children that are struggling with autism, and if they've got a mental health issue as well, because there just doesn't seem to be the right support for the children, but also for the parents. We've all had really lonely, quite isolating journeys, and it's about trying to bring that knowledge and skill together to make sure that children in this area are not left behind.
Is your daughter, is it a daughter or
yes.
Is she in mainstream education, or does she go to
No, she goes to a specialist school over the river.
Right.
Because mainstream school couldn't support her emotionally.
Right, okay. And was it a struggle to find her a place in a school then?
Yes.
How much of a struggle?
Lots of meetings, lots of letters, getting the MP involved, and basically not giving up. And, you know, because a lot of our parents, and me in particular, I was told it was my parenting that there was the problem with my child. And so the system tries to beat you down so that you don't get back up and fight the system. And I think we're finding that more and more parents are getting battered because the problem is the funding, but and performance by payment. You're only getting paid, professionals are only getting paid by performance. So they're struggling to cope with what the demand is, and parents are being pointed at, and it's makes it even more of a struggle to get back up and fight the system.
Anna, you're nodding away. Sally, thank you very much for that. Anna, you're nodding away. Tell us your fight then. Did you have to fight?
Absolutely, I had to fight. My lad's also at the same school where Sally's daughter is. 8 years, removed him from school, had to give up my job after 30 years of working to fight the system, ended up on benefits, so I had no way of supporting myself financially and my son, which I had been able to do previously. Had my parenting brought into question on numerous occasions, which I'm an intelligent person, so I shrugged it off, but there's a lot of parents out there that can't shrug things off quite as easily. Sort of noticed in the system that it was easy to blame the parents. Obviously, funding's being cut, services are getting cut. We understand that and we realise that. The blame culture on parents has to stop. It's damaging. It's causing lots of untold damage to parents and individuals, but also you become incredibly socially isolated yourself.
It sounds brutal. Why is it brutal? You're all nodding. Let me go to Nicola. Why is your experience? It was brutal, the system.
Oh, absolutely.
Why is it brutal?
Well, I think it's lack of awareness and lack of knowledge in the instance, and I think the key thing with any sort of special needs is early intervention. But then you sort of you battered away all the time because it's your parenting or it's a phase and things like that. So all the time it's always about the parenting and not taking that child into consideration about what's happening.
Do you think it's down to ignorance in the system, or is it deliberate? There's nodding here, or is it deliberate to try and stop spending money?
I think it is deliberate. Some of it is deliberate. Some of it is just lack of resources as well. I think schools are always... We've had TAs come to us that want more training, and unfortunately schools haven't got the power, they haven't got the tools, the money or the time to allow these TAs to go out and get the training and experience in that, you know, that sort of environment. My son goes to a special school, but he did go to mainstream school, which, you know, there was 31 children in his class, for one teacher and one TA to be able to know them individuals and be able to support them if they've got any difficulties was, not the right thing.
Should he have been in a special school all along?
Yeah, but I am a big believer in it would be nice if we could have children within mainstreams, because it is really important for children to be around children with special needs, because I think it gives them empathy and it raises them to be more understanding and more aware of these special needs.
Not shut away in a different environment.
Doesn't work for everybody.
So this is a very delicate balancing act then.
Yeah. It's got to be person-centred approach. It's got to be about the child and not the system and not the figures.
That must be difficult, Gill, for the system to cope with, because the system tends to operate in broad brush strokes, doesn't it? So,
it doesn't tend to concentrate on the individual, so I can see it's hard. But if we concentrate on the children now with early intervention and getting things sorted when they're young, they're going to be out in the employment, aren't they? They're going to be successful. They're going to be the Einsteins of the future. They're going to have jobs. If we don't empower them now, when they're young, they're going to be sat at home behind the PCs all day on benefits. And that's why you've got to get in now, because the children change so much.
Sorry, go on then, Nicola. Feel free to join in.
Yeah, I also think if we're bringing children up around in an inclusive environment, these children that are working with children with special needs will become adults already knowledgeable in special needs. So they will go on to be more aware and be able to, hopefully we won't be in this situation in years to come, because if we can now empower children at a young age in mental health and special needs, we could be creating a better future for them.
I can tell by Sally's eyes here, we'll open up her microphone, that she wanted to say something here, Sally.
Well, before my bubble burst with my daughter, I worked in a school, I was a teacher, and I've done the teacher training, and I personally wasn't given any autism training or any mental health training, and teachers are juggling so many balls. But the Conservatives have brought in that it's payment by performance. So if your children in your class do not make the average national gains in academics, you're not going to get your pay rise. So there's more demand on teachers that they've got to hit levels and attainment. So if your child's got special educational needs and they can't get the stars on the star chart because that doesn't work for them, teachers are trying to juggle that with a class of...
Can I ask then, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I'm just listening to what you're saying then, we've run stories fairly recently about rise in number of exclusions from schools. Yeah. Is there a high proportion of children with special educational needs amongst these exclusions?
Yes, and exclusions, but also parents that are at the wit's end and having to remove their children because they are not being correctly support, and then that's causing mental health problems for those children. So by removing them from school, they're at home and they're then losing their right for an education.
We should talk about the charity, An Aim Higher. Gill, tell us more. What have you got coming up? How do people contact you?
They can contact us on Facebook, just at Aim Higher, or on the website www.aimhigher.online. We've got lots coming up. We are concerned about the education most at the moment, because we do have about 10 families that children don't have a school place. So that's our priority.
In a mainstream school or in a special educational school?
The parents are having to take them out of mainstream because they're just getting excluded. So they're deciding to homeschool them until they get an special education place.
And what's the average? We were hearing about Northcott, which has got 18 places with 100 people waiting for the. And is that fairly standard?
Yeah, and it's because children with Asperger's maybe that need a little bit more sort of social support, there's nowhere specifically for them. So people are looking towards Northcott, which might not even be the right fit anyway, but there is nothing that actually fits the criteria that they're looking for.
Again, it comes to this person-centred approach, because not all environments work for different children.
No.
Autism has got such a broad spectrum that you just can't, not all fits all.
Is it possible, Anna, to get that in the system? You wanted to make a point, but I'll ask you that question. Is it possible to get that person-centric approach in a big, brutal system?
I think it should be possible to do that.
I don't disagree.
I think what's happening now is because it's all it all seems to be around schools issues, and nobody's saying that autism is a academic difficulty. It's a social and communication disorder. So autism equals environment equals outcome. So it's about having the right place. Teaching that person-centered approach is so important to that individual. It lowers stress and it enables these children rather than disables them.
Okay, so while most people are saying there should be more money, but the application of the money and the people dealing with parents with autistic children or with special educational needs, there has to be more compassion in the system. Is
and
that
accountability.
a better starting point?
Humility, human side to it.
The council, the SEND department, I mean, we have been told that it's people that are running that have not got the right skills and they're not being made accountable. So you've got teachers that are made accountable if their children don't make the right attainment levels, they don't get the pay rise. But you've got people in charge of this money, all this millions of pounds, that are dolloping out and making decisions, but actually it's not working. And why are they not being made accountable for a failing system? Why are we still getting them people to carry on? Why are they not bringing in more skilled and more people that have got actually knowledge and experience in the right place?
And a bit of compassion in terms of what you're telling me this morning. We're going to have to move on. Just a reminder where people, if whoever wants to tell me how they get in touch with Aim Higher, where do they find you?
They can find us at...
Sorry, I was going to say next week.
Hold on.
The car boot sale.
All right, car boot sale where?
Sainsbury's
car park.
All right, well, it's my corner shop.
In
So
Aim
I don't
Higher.
need a car boot, though. All right, so that's this Sunday coming?
1st of April.
Right, okay.
And we'll all be there.
Aim Higher. You can, very briefly, yeah?
Yeah, very briefly, this is important, I think, for what's happening this morning, is we've got a talent show for special needs coming up, and this is to sort of encourage and celebrate special needs in its best glory, and it's the 27th of May at the Comedy Club in Hull.
Okay.
Comedy Lounge, sorry.
Tell me nearer the time and I'll
Yeah,
mention it again.
fabulous.
Thank you very much for your time. All the best to you and your families. What do you think this morning? Lot of stuff. We've been talking about special educational needs. It is National Autism Week next week. No doubt we'll talk more. If you've any thoughts, do let me know.